Well, you made it to South by, but you started this journey in Halifax where I am, so it's very serendipitous to chat with
Wait,
you.
what?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy. I
yeah.
didn't know that.
So you came from Atlantic Film Festival to Toronto to South by. What a cool freaking journey for BoxCutter and for you in this debut. How's it feeling? How are the vibes?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been amazing so far. Like all of our screenings have been so beautiful. And then now here at South by we just had our international premiere and it was just like, amazing, man. So it's been a lot of fun so far.
What a ride y'all have been on. I'm so glad that you're getting the love. You're receiving the love finally on the international stage. It's so
Thank
cool.
you.
Y'all are
Thank
representing so well. Listen, I loved this film.
you.
I thought it was such a ride, and I loved how Toronto was its own character in the film as much as all of the cast was. So I really
Yeah.
want to dig into you about the Toronto of it all and how you approached bringing the city to the world. And I think that feels very appropriate for the day y'all are having down in Austin.
Yeah, yeah, man. How did we approach it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it just it just kind of happened. I mean, it's just kind of like it came from, the story first, and then we figured we wanted to be a one day in the summer, and then, Chris, the writer, his idea about a quest, like having to make all these stops. And that all just spoke to me because I was like, yeah, man, like the more that we can show the city, the better. And then it's a matter of like leaning into it, you know what I mean? Like not shying away from it or being careful or worrying about anything. It's like, nah, like if we're gonna do that, like we got to go all the way? Um,
Totally.
and so yeah, then it just leads to like this getting beautiful comments like what you just said about how like the city is like a character and you can like kind of you want to like maybe grab it or touch it or feel it, like, you know what I'm saying, like it's there.
Totally. And
And
you can feel Toronto's pain in the gentrification side of the story, and you can feel Toronto's love in the community side of the story. Like, I
wow,
feel like you really showed who Toronto is today in this
wow,
film.
yeah, that's amazing, that's amazing, thank
So
you.
cool. And y'all did it in 20 days. I wrote it down here, but you have 30 locations, 26 unit moves shot in 20 days. Is that right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I mean
Crazy.
30 locations, meaning, I mean, look, there's like 60 scenes and I think almost every scene is in a different location. So, it's a lot. Like our production was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a lot of fun. Like we were just like running around in like a minivan with like five of us or six of us, hopping out, like grabbing a shot and then going somewhere else and grabbing a shot. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, man, it was fun. But it was a lot of work and like really hard and really stressful. But
Totally. In a
the
short amount of
team's
time, too.
amazing. Pardon?
In a short amount of time too. You covered like the whole GTA. It felt like Toronto's not
Yeah.
a small city to do that justice then.
Yeah, it was a lot. And the crazy thing is like there's so much more to show. I mean, like we didn't show that much. I mean, everyone's like, wow, but I'm like, nah, man, there's so much more to show, right? So I've been saying this, like, there should be like 10 box cutters by now, like there should
Real.
be way more like just Toronto films and Canadian films, that
Real.
really like lean into the spaces.
Oh, absolutely with you. And I hope that this is the film that a young Toronto filmmaker is going to see and go like, I can do a version of this. I can take my neighborhood and do this kind of day in a life story.
Wow, that would just be amazing, man. I mean,
Totally.
there's a
I
lot
don't
of
know if
work.
I don't. Oh God. Sorry.
No, no, I was just gonna say like there's a lot of work happening with like, Toronto stories. And there has been like there always like when you go to TIFF every year, there's local stories and um so I just hope that there's just more. That's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if anyone's done this yet, but I really want to see a map of where the story goes in the movie and like how they zigzag up and down, north and south, east and west the whole day. And it doesn't seem like traffic was even a problem for these guys. They were getting on the buses, no problem.
That's true. So that's really funny because we literally were having this conversation like after the screening because someone came up to us and said, who was from Toronto was there and he said, "You know what? That I think like your journey actually tracks." And I'm like, "Damn right it tracks because like I made sure that shit tracks, you know what I mean?" Because
Absolutely.
it was really important for me like for someone who knows, man, like whenever, like some movie nerd like is going to draw this out one day and I want to make sure it makes sense, you know, and it does. Like
Me, I'm the nerd that's gonna draw it out, and I want
I
to see it.
love, I freaking love that you did that, that you said that. So
Yeah. I
that's
think,
funny.
but that speaks to how much love you guys put into doing Toronto justice. And it wasn't like a caricature of the city, and it wasn't like a, we're going to show the five hotspots of Toronto that people outside of Canada will recognize. It was like really the Toronto experience that these characters are living. And are you from Toronto? Like, are you Toronto native? Yeah, you are. So how much
Well,
of,
I grew up in Vancouver and then I
right
moved
on,
to Toronto to go to school and I stayed there. So Toronto is like I've spent more time in Toronto than Vancouver, but you know,
right on.
both are technically home to me in some way, different ways, you know?
Yeah, I feel that. I spend about half the year in Toronto, so I kind of get that vibe. How much of your own life in Toronto did you translate to the screen? Like your own neighborhoods or your own favorite Easter eggs that you snuck in there?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch. I mean, uh there's like well, I mean the whole thing is kind of like inspired from my time in music, you know? So
Totally.
the whole movie is very connected to my heart in a lot of ways and like wanting to like um showcase a community and a scene, you know what I'm saying? That's like very
Yeah,
special to me, right? So yeah, I'd say the
absolutely.
whole thing in a way.
I felt like even though it is so Toronto centric, there were moments that felt so Canadian on a broader scale as well, like grabbing a Timmy's before you get on the bus to go to work, and some of the shots of like the restaurants or on the main strips. Like it felt like we were in Canada in a way that you can identify with no matter if you're on the East Coast, West Coast,
I love it.
Central. I'm curious how important it was for you to like make this movie feel Canadian.
Yeah, I mean, very important. Again, it's like I said before, like we just wanted to lean into everything, you know, and not shy away from any of it, you know. So
Totally.
yeah, the Timmy's cups and all that, like had to be there, you know, the streetcars, like basically um what happened? Like our first AD, shouts to Dayon Jamil, who was our first AD. And anytime we'd be shooting like on the street, right? Like if a streetcar w was coming, like it's normal for a first AD to be like hold for the streetcar,
Right.
right? But I was like, nah, 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 nah. Like if the streetcar's in the background, like that's in the film, like that's what I want, you know? Like I'd rather have that texture back there and like that representation of like what it's actually like in Toronto. Like the red
Totally.
streetcars are always going by you, right?
Yes,
So,
they're always interrupting. They're always so loud.
yeah,
They're always, I love it. I love
yeah,
that
for,
choice.
for better or for worse, right? Like they're a big part of the downtown life, right? So, um, yeah, anytime there was a streetcar in the shot, I was like, that's probably going to be in the movie, you know? Obviously if the performance is the right performance, right?
Right
Uh,
on.
but you know, it was just about leaning into it, like I said before, like not shying away from stuff like that, which normally like film productions do,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And even in the transition shots between scenes, you could really see the texture of Toronto coming through, like the wires above the transit. I
Oh, yeah.
loved there was a line about where the party's gonna be at with Reggie, and they go, "Oh, it's at the McDonald's Queen and Spadina." I was like, that is like the perfect cut for people who get it, get it. So
Okay, so
good.
that's funny that you bring that up because like there's a couple of moments that are definitely like Toronto specific, right? And when you play them here, like it's
Mhm.
crickets, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
no one gets it, right? Um, so, but that's okay, you know what I'm saying? Like that's okay. So it's supposed to be like that, you know, like the
Totally.
international audiences and audiences from other provinces, like, you know, they hopefully relate to the story and the characters and the journey that they're on, you know?
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
those little moments are like for you and for me and for people in Toronto to really like know that it's like made for you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like authentic. And it's so important. I think my take when I'm watching Canadian films is to see moments like that that are so like rooted in the city, in the community, in the if you know, you know, we're not trying to play to international. We're here to like represent who we are. So big
Right.
love from me on that end of it. I thought the theme of the film as well around like vulnerability and being seen, what an interesting time to bring that message from Canada to the world stage, right? Like, we're really in a moment of Canadian film and television trying to own its shit and be its own voice. How are you maybe feeling with the message of the film and the climate that you're bringing it to the US in?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is like I've just always felt like that anyways. Like we need to kind of like just showcase ourselves more, no matter what. So regardless of what's going on politically. So I don't know. Right now, I just in regards to like the film and what's going on, I don't really feel much different to be honest. I'm just happy that like we were able to put our community on a big screen and share the work and share like the story.
Totally.
Um, if that connects with someone in a different way now because of what's going on, that's good. I mean, if it helps in some way, that's great. But um, as far as the intention for the film and just the how I feel generally, I kind of feel the same.
Feels more timely than ever. It feels like you nailed it before you knew maybe the moment that was coming.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, I mean, stuff like that happens sometimes, and if somehow it resonates with someone differently or strongly now or whatever, that's beautiful. But the thing is, like, someone could watch this film in 50 years, uh, you know, who knows where in the world, and maybe the timing lines up with something that's going on in their world at that time, and then maybe it'll connect with them somehow at that moment,
Yeah,
right? So you never know what's gonna
absolutely.
happen, right? So
I love it. I feel like it's a message that kind of transcends forward and backward in the Canadian industry of like, you're never going to be ready. You have to take a chance. You have to let other people who believe in you believe in you. Like, feels
right.
very timeless thinking about how our industry ebbs and flows and how we bring ourselves to the
Mhm.
stage, literally and metaphorically, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
well,
here. Go ahead. Yeah.
no, that's great. It's amazing that you said that because like the version of this film like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the big producer like at the end of the film would be like from New York or LA. You know what I
Word.
mean?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like it's was really important to me to like know that we're in a place where we have enough local success stories that a Canadian person can be the goal.
Yeah.
Like the goal is someone from here, like from Toronto, and that's who I need to talk to. I don't need to get to the American person. Which is like, it's somewhat real, somewhat not. Like obviously the US is still where the market is and where the industry is and all that stuff. So, it's not a 100% true representation, but like this idea that we have successful people, you like would never see that in a film like this, like prior to this era, right? Um,
Completely agree. Even
yeah,
it almost took me out of body a little bit when there's the line specifically that's like Drake and The Weeknd did it, like I can do it, and there's that very specific call out. And the thought that I had was that it was such a modern line to be able to say that there's
yeah,
multiple examples from the community the film is in, not just like Canadians who made it, but no, like Drake, The Weeknd are from here, and I am here, and I can do it too. So
yeah.
like very like it felt like a first time that I had heard that in that way in a Canadian film before.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then right after that, they're like, you don't even have a passport. Like, what are you talking about?
You don't
Right?
have a G2. I screamed. That was so good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh man, I another layer of like the Toronto of it all that I think connects to this moment was the musical language of the script and the way that I felt like the Toronto dialect was captured so strongly by the cast and the ebbs and flows of conversation and back and forth. I wonder if you can share a little bit about directing those sequences with three, four, five characters and trying to help it really does sound like music in the film, the way these guys go back and forth and they jab at each other and they use that local language that can almost sound like a foreign language to people that don't know Toronto and don't know the way people speak to each other here.
Right, 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 right. I mean, the goal, okay, like in real life, everyone speaks differently there, right? Like it's not like everyone is walking around with a strong Toronto accent, right? So in the film, it's the same approach. Like we just kind of like wanted people to speak how they speak. Like there was I don't think there was one conversation about like um you know hey, can you say this like this or can you do this, like, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just was like do it how you do it. um and then I think that kind of just, and I think like our crew and everyone, like everyone is just kind of like chill, so it was just kind of easy. Like actors, I think felt comfortable, like you'd have to ask them. Obviously, I can't speak for them, but like I feel like the actors felt comfortable to just be in their skin and just be themselves and not be judged if they do or say something that is not traditional for like film or TV or whatever. So it was just like creating a welcoming environment and letting people just be themselves. Uh,
Totally. And it's so important, I
and
think,
like
to welcome that range that you guys had. It was extraordinary to hear not just one voice, but like 20 different voices.
Yeah, and I think but the key is to like kind of keep the pace up so it feels natural, you know what I mean? Like I encourage like actors like to speak over each other, like it's got to feel like like real. So it's like when you start playing in that space, then it just starts to feel right, it starts to feel like real.
Absolutely. Did anyone improv their lines or like switch things up to sound more like them?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And actually that entire scene on the subway platform is all improv,
So
you
cool.
know? Yeah, so I did keep a steady hand on it. Like, I do there is a big part of me that like just wants the script to be the script, but then there was definitely a lot of times where I was like, you know what? No, we need to just loosen up and just let's just play and have fun and so it was a mix of those two kind of vibes.
Well, kudos to you because I think it's hard to find the balance, right, between letting the play happen in the moment and then keeping the
Yeah.
idea where the idea was. So kudos to you for like driving that straight and narrow. It's
Thank
hard to do that.
Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah,
I was lucky to work with such amazing actors, right? Like they can also do that, you know? Like
totally.
Ashton can do that. Like he can just like laser focus in on what's happening, or he can just be free and loose and just yeah. So yeah, I was lucky to work with like just great people.
Amazing. It seems like the vibes were immaculate from everything you're saying. And what I see on Instagram, you guys post some amazing reels of all your tour stops and different things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
What's the message that like you're sharing with the people that either contributed directly as like crew or people that were supporting all of you in making this film? Like, what is the message today at South by to everyone that helped make this happen?
Oh man, just like congratulations. Couldn't have been here without you. Um, the experience that they all gave me and everyone too. Like, a lot of people speak about the experience on this film as like a highlight or a great a moment or time. Um, so just thank you to everyone that was part of it. And the vibes were just so nice. Like it was hard, man. Like people worked their asses off. But I remember think it was Kareen, I think our first AC or someone. Yeah, I think it was her, but she was talking about like, oh man, she just said something like this shoot is like really difficult, but it's a lot of fun, right? And I was like, what's so difficult about it? Like we're just shooting like normal. But it goes back to your first question about like the locations, because like here's me not like really cluing in to the fact that like the crew has to unload the truck, then we shoot all day, and then they have to reload the truck, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like on a normal film, you unload the truck, you shoot for a few days in like a location, and then you load up the truck, right? So
Absolutely.
these guys are unloading, working, loading every single day, literally every single day, right? So
Yeah.
it's like they really, really, really gave everything. And they just killed it. But I think the people just all vibed and connected, and the vibe was great, and we had a lot of fun, and it shows on screen, I
Oh,
feel.
totally, totally comes through on screen and really connects to that message of letting people believe in the work and believe in you. I think that is
Yeah.
such a cool note for us to end on, but also to think about the South by experience and all of the people that believed in the project, believed in you, and now you're here. You did it. World stage, dream premiere.
Yeah, it's funny, like it's like that time, like that's the reward, right? Like the reward is like doing the thing and then saying thank you and then we kind of move on and the relationships we build are the relationships we build, and some of those last, and it's really beautiful if they do, right? And some of them don't last, but that's okay because in the time of the shoot it was special, right? um
Absolutely.
but the thing is even with that said, it's like, yo, like we're in South by, like this is amazing. You know what I mean? So it's like it
Hell
kind of makes
yeah.
it even more. It just takes that kind of thing up to like a next level.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see what you do next. I hope that Box Cutter has a nice run and we run into each other in Toronto and talk again someday.